Now, this is a science fiction story that nobody else is going to report on, and it's the type of thing that might not get a lot of clicks, but I think is very important for the culture war. So please bear with me. This is stuff that we need to go over, and there's a reason why, because you need to be aware of what's going on in these circles, how these organizations are reacting to cancel you, me, and everybody else who's normal, and then we can figure out a plan on how to address this in the future, because the old tactics aren't going to work anymore. Hi, my name is John Delarose. I'm the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction, #1 best-selling and award-winning author. I'm on my last day for A High School Girl in the Crusades. This is our campaign. We have crushed it so far. A beautiful, beautiful book. It's going to be fun for the whole family. You can enjoy it. There's no degeneracy in it, anything like that, like these days in sci-fi. So we're trying to push back, make great culture, and you guys are the ones who can help us do so. So check that out. The link's in the description below, and we will be very happy for your support. All right. The news I read today is SF Canada board statement to expel Peter Halaz. And I hope I pronounced that right. But I don't know anything about this. I've never even heard of an SF Canada. That's Sci-Fi Canada. And Peter Halaz was apparently one of their ex-presidents who's been involved with the organization for a long time. He is, of course, an older gentleman who seems to have been active in fandom. He's from what I understand and heard over the investigation of things that I've done before making this video, he was kind of a cantankerous guy, so you could get into some robust debates with him. Nothing abnormal for sci-fi fandom. You got a lot of strong opinions in the geek worlds and things like that. So it's kind of surprising to hear about this. You see their statement right here, and they say they held their general meeting, and during their AGM motion that was made by a member to expel him in light of various actions incompatible with the collegial relationship of members of SF Canada. You notice how they talk in this corporate speak now. Even down to these stupid organizations nobody pays attention to or cares about, they're totally corporate speak. Various actions doesn't mean anything. Incompatible with collegial relationship, whatever the hell that means. You see this right here, that it's vague. It doesn't mean anything. They are clearly doing this based on a personal onus here, and that always sends my red flags up. When I see something like this, it tells me there's really nothing the guy did wrong. I mean, maybe he, got hot or in an argument or something like that, but it's never a real crime that anybody committed here when they get canceled, and it's for a reason like this. Per bylaw number 6, under conditions of membership, any member may be required to resign by a 3/4 majority vote at the annual general meeting or special general meeting for any cause, which membership may deem reasonable. Any cause, and that's the whole deal. So they're just saying they can expel anybody at any time. It's much like SIF was. The Science Fiction Writers of America do this same thing, where if they just don't like you, they'll expel you. If they don't like your politics, they just won't let you in. It doesn't matter if you qualify. It doesn't matter anything about the organization. It's just a bunch of mean old cat ladies who are just trying to enact their power, trying to just screw with people all the time. And that's what these organizations have all come to. They don't care about science fiction anymore. They don't care about fandom or community anymore. They only care about themselves, their little personal evil power structures in these ever-diminishing small groups that really nobody cares about in the entire world. It's really sad to watch, but this is what losers do. And here they go. So they're going to now create a code of conduct and anti-harassment policy for SF Canada. All right. So I looked at this, and I actually found the reason. It took me quite a bit of scanning through articles to find the actual reason they expelled him, and it's really on the stupid level. It's a personal fight between him and I guess probably the current president of the board, and we've got that information. So if you're wondering what leads to this kind of thing, he must have been horrible. He must have raped somebody. I mean, that's what they would like to make you think with these statements, right? They'd like to make you think that he literally went in somewhere and brandished a knife and threatened to shank people. That didn't happen. It was just strong words between two people, and this is what we found out right here from an anonymous poster who then wants to talk about this. This person says, I am a current member of SF Canada. There was no due process worthy of the name. Of course, there never is. It's always a behind-the-scenes thing. With me, when SIFWA decided to harass me and to do the horrible things they did to me to get me kicked out of Worldcon, to get me not invited into SIFWA, they actually did it on a private message board where a bunch of people just called me a bunch of names. They offered no evidence. They urged their group to write letters, run a letter writing campaign to harass me and to just demean me over and over again. They encouraged people to form a mob against me, even though I had done absolutely nothing wrong, and there was no evidence that, I had done anything wrong. This is what these groups do. They form the mobs in the background, and then they enact it in public once they realize that they have a big enough majority of the monkey troop to do so. They wait until that moment because they are a bunch of cowards. And as you can tell by the statement, they are cowardly. If there was something truly bad about him, they would state what those facts actually were, and they wouldn't worry about it. But there's a reason they don't, and it's actually because of me. So we'll get to that in a second. But let's get back to this. The Halaz matter began over dispute over content import of financial statements. How boring can you possibly get? It became protracted as parties refused to back down and ended up talking past each other. It quite quickly degenerated into personal invective. The personal invective became ugly. Halaz wasn't the only one involved in bitter, ugly personal invective. He was the only one who got expelled. So I'll translate this for you because this is still kind of just summarizing things and not actually what happened. There was a financial report. Somebody disagreed with the way it was being reported. I don't know whether it was him or the other way around. But then they started yelling at each other. They started calling each other names, probably swearing at each other. And that was what happened. And so since he was the one who didn't have the political clout, the one with the political clout, even though they did the exact same thing, organized this expulsion. All right, as things got out of hand, there were people who were called for calm and restraint. That never happens in mobs, especially with these idiot SJWs. But then that wasn't the board, which seemed happy to wallow in the gutter. It certainly wasn't board members who had a track record of bullying. All right. This is always what happens. There's always the bullying within these groups, again, because this is a small fiefdom. They have no friends in real life. They have no power in real life. This is the best they could get out of their life, and so this is their religion to them. And if you mess with their religion in any sort of way, you get expelled, you get harassed, you get canceled. All right, the stuff about disclosure of members' information happened. It wasn't intentional. So I guess there was some conjecture that Halaz went out and published some information about their mailing list or something. But if it wasn't intentional, it wasn't intentional. It was buried in a much larger document, uploaded without realizing, and the apology was made almost immediately. What more can you ask for when somebody does that? I mean, these organizations are just sick. That was a red herring. Worldcon did much the same to me with a red herring when they libeled me on their website and they went crazy, and it was clearly over politics. They went out and they started publishing this information saying, "Oh, it's JDA's going to film people." Well, it says filming on their website is actually is allowed, and most conventions allow that. Every convention, everybody goes and takes pictures, etc., makes films of different things that they like at the convention. It's very normal. What I said was I was going to have a camera on me in case somebody tried to shank me or something like that, because I was really actually afraid of death threats that I was getting at the time. But they twisted that as a red herring, much like this information. They claimed that I was going to follow people around and stalk them. They thought it was that I was going to be like Jesse Waters or something like that, going after people with that journalism or whatever, which is still not a crime. But I had no intention of doing that. They made it up, and that's exactly what was done here, as you can tell. The real issue was personal issues and personal invective. Same thing. What happened with Worldcon was the guy who was the head of Worldcon, his husband got really, they're gay, of course, got really mad at me on Facebook because of Trump, did the whole,
"Hey, you might as well unfriend me now if you voted for Trump, racist,"
sort of garbage. And then they just hated me for that because they're just absolutely mentally deranged people who can't let people have their own opinions. I don't know what happened here. I'm going to guess it's very similar. I mean, it seems like there was a big nothing burger, and that was it. It's not unusual for small groups and communities, true. And that's it. It ended up amateurish and unprofessional and ugly with bitterness all around, and it always does. So why is this important? This is just another science fiction organization eating its own, destroying its own self because They have personal politics causing problems, and they just want to mess with people. And so, in order to do that, they're going to cancel somebody who's actually worked hard for the organization, worked hard for science fiction for years, all because there was a fight between two people. One has clout, one doesn't. Now, the important part of this is the way they did this statement, which I mentioned. The way they did this statement is a vague accusation. So they make it seem to anybody who reads this that he's a horrible person. He's a rapist. He's a killer. He's a child molester. Who knows? We don't know what the cause is. We can only speculate. And of course, it came down to he was yelling in a yelling match with some random person. They both called each other names, but the person who got called the names had more clout than he did. That's it. He didn't commit a crime, nothing like that. This should have just boiled over. People should have settled down. People should have got back to work for science fiction, for fandom. But these organizations aren't about that now. They're about politics. And the reason this is important is because of my judgment. When they actually specified, when they were out there and they actually said, we're removing John Delarose for racist bullying, these organizations now know that they can't just get away with libeling people, which that was libel. It was clearly libel, and that's why they were forced to apologize to me. I am legally not racist. Thank you very much. And now they are scared of actually publishing real information because they might get into trouble when it turns out it's just a false allegation. It's easily settleable, and this is easily fixable. They're taking the wrong lesson here. It's not to be vague and harass people anyway. That's going to cause harm to your organization in different ways as it is. They're not going to listen to me, but whatever. I'm going to talk about it anyway. That's not the lesson you should have learned. The lesson is not to be vague and harass people anyway. The lesson is take a step back, stop your personal animus nonsense with organizations like this. Don't target people over politics. Don't harass people. That is the lesson you should have learned from it. If you had something here and it was real, you should have very much stated the specifics of why and what happened. You should have that documented. It should be real. The problem that Worldcon posted was not that they posted I was a racist bully. The problem is I'm not a racist bully. It was libel. They went out and they posted that, and it was fake news. It was false. It hurt my career. If there was something real, there wasn't something real. That was the whole problem. They just wanted to expel me anyway. Then that is what you should do. You should post about the real things. So I don't know what these organizations are thinking. Obviously, they're so blinded by craziness in the social media age. It's all about anger all the time, outrage. And that's what needs to stop. We're supposed to be about fun. We're supposed to be about science fiction. We're supposed to be about books. I have a great book right now, and it's fun. And of course, it would trigger all these people to death because it's not supposed to be allowed, a lot of the things that we wrote in here. But it's great. This is how fiction used to be. We used to be able to have fun together. We used to be able to laugh together. We used to be able to enjoy stuff together. And it's sad these organizations that claim they're Science Fiction Canada, actually have nothing to do with science fiction anymore. It's just a petty infighting political group, just like SIFWA, just like everything else. All right. We're going to start our own organizations, our own content. We are fighting back in culture. Thank you for being there. You're part of this team always, and I've got your back, everybody. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I hope this was useful for you. All right, talk to you soon.